Welcome to New Hampshire, the granite state in the northeast of the United States of America, home of the first primary in the US presidential campaign for the Republicans. The second contest, of course, coming 1 week as it did after Iowa. Voting here has been over for a number of hours. The votes are still being counted, but with more than 90% of those votes counted, it has been clear for some time that Mitt Romney was going to add to his victory in Iowa with a win here in New Hampshire. Latest figures have got him at 39% of the votes that have been counted. In second place is the Texas Congressman Ron Paul with 23%, and Jon Huntsman, the man who ignored Iowa and decided to essentially place all his chips in competing here in New Hampshire, came third with 17% of the vote. Now, all three candidates have been speaking in the last few hours to their supporters at various events right around Manchester here in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to what they had to say. First, Mitt Romney.
We still believe in the hope, the promise, and the dream of America. We still believe in that shining city on a hill. We know that the future of this country is better than 8 or 9% unemployment. It's better than $15 trillion in debt. It's better than the misguided policies and broken promises of the last 3 years and the failed leadership of one man. The president has run out of ideas. Now he's running out of excuses.
We do have to cut. We have to live within our means if we want to be able to at least take care of the people who have been made to be so dependent on the government. I mean, we have to work our way out. I would say if we did this and cut this overseas spending, at least we might be able to allow the Social Security beneficiaries to get their checks and medical care be provided. But if we continue to do what we're doing, the results are that the dollar is destroyed and the whole thing comes apart, and it's going to be a worldwide phenomenon.
This is about economics, and this is about education, and this is going to play out over the Pacific Ocean with countries that I have lived in before. And all I can tell you tonight, without any hint of hyperbole, folks, if we don't get our act together at home, we will see the end of the American century by 2050, and we are not going to let that happen, are we?
The candidates speaking in Manchester, New Hampshire in the last few hours, returning to many of the themes that they've used on the campaign trail, using primetime TV coverage here in the United States to get their message across, not just to those in the state that have been voting, but to South Carolina, the next contest, and of course to the wider populace in the country across the United States. Now, I'm joined here by John Nichols, who's a political writer with The Nation. John, it was meant to be a night that Mitt Romney was going to win, and he did. No surprises.
No surprise, except perhaps that he did a little better than people expected. You know, candidates get a hard break because the initial exit poll results often show things to be close, and it's only when the real numbers come in that we see what happened. In this case, throughout the night, Mitt Romney's total has gone up. He's close to 40%. That is a very solid win in New Hampshire, and one that he will use in an effort to unite the party now, arguing that maintaining this primary fight for much longer only helps Barack Obama.
John, stick with us for a moment. We're going to take a look at the people who ended in second and third place. First of all, Ron Paul, who at 76 is the oldest contender in the field. He is a congressman from Texas and won, we think, probably about 23% of the vote. He's well known to Republicans and is on his third campaign for the presidency. He already ran before for the Libertarian Party, and he's considered to be the godfather of the conservative Tea Party movement, which is a big faction now in the Republican Party. And he says if elected president, he will cut spending on social welfare with the aim of abolishing what he calls the welfare state. And then we turn to the man who finished third, Jon Huntsman, who said that he wasn't going to compete in Iowa because he said Iowans pick corn, they don't pick presidents. And his gamble seems to have paid off with a creditable third place finish. He's 51 years old. He's also one of the heirs to the Huntsman Corporation, an $8 billion enterprise, and his father has been funding a large part of his presidential campaign. He's a former governor of the state of Utah, one of two Mormons in the race. More recently, President Obama appointed him US ambassador to China, a post he resigned from in April last year to run for the presidency. And if elected, he's pledged to work towards sustaining US leadership in the world. He also says he would reform education. Two interesting characters coming second and third, John. Ron Paul, a good night for him.
A very good night. Look, Ron Paul has been really on the edges of the American political discourse for a very long time, going back to the 1970s. He just came in second in the highest profile primary in American politics. And so his campaign has paid off, although there is a challenge here because he put a lot of energy into a state that has a real strong libertarian tradition, very close to his ideology. He got a credible second place finish, but he didn't win. And there's some question as to whether he can do any better in other states down the line. There's also some question about whether he will remain in the Republican Party or whether he might lead his very fervent following, small but very fervent following, out of the Republican Party and run for president in November, perhaps as a libertarian, perhaps as an independent, but in a position where he might take a lot of votes away from Mitt Romney.
He's heading down to South Carolina. His first event is midday, so he's obviously quite keen to get going down there. Jon Huntsman will follow him. He put all his chips on New Hampshire. Didn't quite pay off. Third's creditable, but it's not brilliant, is it?
No. Jon Huntsman really wanted that second place finish. He didn't have to beat Romney, but he wanted to come close. His dream was to be maybe in second place, 7-8 points behind Romney, be very much considered somebody who was in that league. Coming in third makes it harder. His only hope in South Carolina now, and the reason he's going, is that Newt Gingrich, the fourth place finisher's rather vicious attacks on Mitt Romney might begin to cause people to doubt whether Mitt Romney really is the best candidate for the Republicans. If that works, they're going to look around quickly for somebody else, and Huntsman's going to hope that he's the person they look to.
John, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for your insight and your analysis. Just a reminder, of course, that you can find a great deal more about the US presidential election process on the website, www.aljazeera.com. A lot of the correspondents who are on the road with the candidates have been writing for the web, me among them. And of course, we have a very entertaining infographic explaining every step ahead of November's election. You can always find that in all our videos at aljazeera.com. And of course, you can also follow me on Twitter at Alan Fisher. Now for the rest of the news, back to Shuli in Doha.